Good evening, everyone. I am CA Vikas Gupta, and I welcome you all to today's very interesting webinar on the topic ABCD of Technology, organized by the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, ICI. Today, we have with us CA Narsimhan Ellen Govind sir and CA Amish Thakkar sir, who would be taking this technical sessions and which will be followed by Q&A round after each session. Before we start, I would like to welcome CA Charanjot Singh Nanda sir, Chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, ICI. Nanda sir is a Central Council member of the 25th Council of ICI. He is currently the chairman of DAP, Internal Audit Standard Board, Committee on Information Technology of South Asian Federation of Accounts, also known as SAFA, vice chairman of the Banking, Financial Service and Insurance Committee. He was a member Quality Review Board set up by Government of India. He was also the Central Council member during the tenure 2004 to 2016. He was the chairman of Committee on Internal Audit and also the chairman of Committee for Members in Industry of ICI. Member of SEBI Advisory Committee on Primary Market 2007 to 2010. He has represented ICI on SEBI Committee on Disclosures and Accounting Standards. He was a convener of the expert group constituted by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India on Investor Protection. Sir was also member of the Southern Asian Federation of Accountants Committee on Professional Accountants in Business, PAIB. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Nanda, sir.
Thanks a lot, Vikas. I welcome Mr. Narsimhan Ellen Govind, the officials from ICI, DAB, Amit Gupta, and the moderator of the day, CA Vikas Gupta, and all who have come here to go home more enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very wonderful topic line on today. ABCD of technology. A stands for artificial intelligence. B stands for blockchain. C stands for cybersecurity, and D stands for data analytics. What a wonderful synchronization of words which are very integral to the meaning of technology. I would like to tell you that we chartered accountants need to go ahead and perform in tandem with the best practices internationally. India has grown exponentially, and we are creating a lot of sculptures all across the globe by our indulgence in technology. That is the reason the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, under the aegis of DAB, thought it imperative to have a program on ABCD of technology for all SAFA countries, including Nepal, including Bangladesh, Maldives, Bhutan, Pakistan. So we are very keen to hold many much such programs, and the latest in this stride is a very nice program which is set up by the committee. It is technology for non-technology professionals, and we shall be launching it very shortly so that you're able to take it forward. I want to tell you that today is a great day for forensics, for Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, because today the council has given its go-ahead to forensic standards from tomorrow. It means that from tomorrow onwards, 1st July 2023, all the forensic standards, 23 forensic standards are mandatory. And in order to help fellow chartered accountants go through it, do the assignments, we have prepared an implementation guide on forensic accounting and investigative standards so that you can go through each and every standard and have a proper implementation, a proper guidance on that. Now, I won't want to stand between you and Mr. Narsimhan. So I give the dais back to Vikasji and we'll take things forward. Great. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words, sir. Thank you. So now we begin with our technical sessions. The first topic for the evening will be taken up by CA Narsimhan, sir. I'll just briefly read out your profile, sir, just for the introduction. So, Sir's area of practice include data analytics, risk-based audit, privacy impact assessment, internal audit, information system assurance, internal financial controls, and SOX compliance. In the past few years, he has also been advising in emerging area of technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, and cybersecurity and big data. He has regularly spoken on these domains in the national and international forums. He has assisted a wide variety of entities from startup to large corporations in the fields of BFS, telecom, retail, fintech, startups, airline, e-commerce, government of foreign countries, and many other cross-functional organizations. He has been identified as one of the top 10 influential consulting leaders 2020, an annual recognition for torchbearers in the consulting spheres by CEO Insights magazine. Welcome, sir, and thank you very much for sparing your valuable time for us for sharing your knowledge. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really a humble experience to connect with all of you and speak with, connect with you, all of you today. As rightly introduced, I thought I will speak on two major components, the AI component and the blockchain component, and give you some of these trends which we are noticing today. And one of the biggest trend, let me tell you, which you will notice in the days to come, is that every product, every product which you see in the future will have a feature called as AI enabled. Just like how in your mobile phone we had Bluetooth, we had infrared and all of those, tomorrow every product will be invariably having an AI enabled, and that's the era we are heading into. AI will very soon become a feature, right? So that's the era. And with chat GPT and all these fancy generative AI technologies, a lot of these knowledge based workers, the way and the style of doing work and things have actually undergone a massive shift, right? So let's spend a few minutes to understand this and get the context, and obviously we'll open it for Q&A a little later. For the next 60 minutes or so, I thought I'll take you through what are the major changes, shifts which we are noticing, and how is that going to be impacting our entire setup, right? A quick disclaimer, the views are personal and not of our organization. So I will be generally covering these domains. What are the changing times, introduction to AI, some AI tools, and if you want to use it, how you can get started, then an element of blockchain, and how do you gear up for the future. Now, this one image, if you look into it, I think it summarizes everything. The humans are hooked with the so-called mobile phones, whereas machines are actually learning. And it may not be as fancy or as put up in this particular image, but the reality is machines are learning. A simple example is Google knows what time you are normally leaving from your home, and it is suggesting, hey, this is a better time to leave. If you add your flight or itinerary into Google, it says, hey, 1 hour before, I will go ahead and do this. Some of these apps also have feature when you are onto a flight, it says, hey, this time to this time, I will put an aeroplane mode. Do you want to accept it? So machines are picking up lots and lots of information from you, and they are actually learning, right? And that's the reality. And if you look into transformation, I just want to give two scenarios of transformation, what we speak of, and both of them are relevant for the topic which we speak today. What started as a so-called invention of a wheel horse cart moved on to a fairly good amount of progression with the train, automobile, aeroplane, ride sharing, autonomous car. And today we do not know what is the next biggest transformation. We do not know. Maybe a heli taxi, a flying taxi, we do not know. Look into the payment space, what started off as a barter, a physical currency, fiat money, credit card, wallets came into picture, digital currency payment. We do not know what's the future. And see the pace at which these things have taken place. If you ask me, a bunch of these transitions have taken years for it to take place. But the last 2 or 3 has all happened in our lifetime. And that's a classical example to say how the technology is transforming much, much more faster. And if I read this very interesting report, Future of Jobs Report 2023, it was released on April 30th, 2023, a recommended document for you to go through. It talks about what the various countries across the globe, what are the trends in the jobs, right? What are the global trends, and what is the impact on creation of job. And if you notice, many of them keep saying, hey, I fear AI, whereas that's not the reality. I need to be very, very happy with technologies coming in because it's going to create newer opportunities. And what you see on the right-hand side, whatever you see in the lightish blue, are all creators of job. And if you notice, of course, AI and machine learning is going to remove some amount of jobs, but see the number of jobs it is going to bring up. Right? And this is something which is very worthy for us to look into, because I believe in starting this from a positive angle to say, hey, it's not that AI is the end of the world. With AI comes in, not everything is going to disappear. right? It will still help you to solve a whole lot of things, but newer opportunities and domains will slowly start coming by, right? And if you look from a outlook perspective, from a job creation and etc., this is again a very positive trend. You notice that AI, machine learning specialists, data analytics, business development professionals, all these folks are going to have a significant global churn in terms of the labor force, in terms of the movement and things like that. And we notice auditors also are not far behind. So this is the time that we spend into reskilling ourselves, and that is why it's all the more important and relevant. And if I have to explain the evolution of technology, I would probably mention it something like this, right? Starting from your mainframe and PCs, which started off, to a client server technology, to a cloud or a mobile or a big data service. And today we're talking about intelligent technologies. That's the transition we are speaking of, right? And let me tell you, these intelligent technologies have only increased in the recent past. If we thought that, post-pandemic was one era of evolution of technology, from September 22 or November 22 is another era of technology, with ChatGPT era coming. The number of AI tools which have come up is something very, very significant, right? And this is going to impact all of our businesses and processes and the way we work, right? So therefore, that brings me to a very fundamental question. What is AI? We've been speaking a lot, and most of us are aware. But just to bring the context, AI is all about computer's ability that could simulate a human capability. It could simulate a human's capability, right? What are these things? The tasks that computers do or machines do that requires intelligence basically are done, which humans do, the machines do it. It could be analyzing, it could be sorting, it could be differentiating and things like that. And this does not work merely based on a set of rules. It works on rules which it can learn on its own. And therefore, this one slide, if you ask me, is one of my personal favorite to bring a perspective of what are the building blocks which are there in this entire ecosystem. And if you ask me the building blocks or, the whole way in which AI is used today are broadly in these three verticals: the vertical of data, the vertical of processing, the vertical of action. And when I say the vertical of data, here we're talking about the machine vision, detecting faces, identifying objects, right? So that's the first leg of the machine vision. The second is speech recognition. You speak, your voice it is able to recognize. An example of a machine vision could be your phones, which is able to identify the face image and detect who's the permitted user and non-permitted user. Now, all of these phones definitely had a major update when the pandemic came into picture, where you were wearing a mask and it is obviously not possible for you to remove the mask every time to unlock your face. So they had to do a whole lot of update into the technology, right? So the machine vision underwent a significant change. Another example is speech recognition and natural language processing. Ability of the system to understand what you're trying to tell, right? Maybe in a local language, in a vernacular language, a combination of English, Hindi, a combination of whatever language you use plus English. How is it able to understand? And that's where your speech recognition and natural language processing comes into play. Understand the intent rather than the pure text, right? An example could be I don't know, could be I don't, K-N-O-W, also N-O-W. N-O. Right? Now, how do I sense what it is? It is based on the conceptual understanding of the sentence. Now, that's on one pillar. The other pillar, which is something very interesting, is processing. Information processing. Right? Learning from the data. A simple example is a Google map or your Uber app. Google Maps, Uber apps, all of them suggest that there is a traffic in this region. Why don't you take a detour? right? That's an example of learning from data. Planning and exploring agents, all of these are examples of processing. And look on the other side is action. Now, action could be an image which is generated, like a modifying phase or, all those funny things. Or it could be the virtual speech assistant. An example of a virtual speech assistant is the likes of Alexa, Siri, Google, Home Assistant. Picking and dropping objects, which was considered to be a very, a significant innovation. Picking objects, because you need to pick and drop them, right? And navigating through obstacles. So all of this are interesting use cases of data moving into processing and then into action. So I hope now you've got a sense where this can be used. Now imagine this was to be used in a financial world. We're talking about how the machines are capturing the transactions, are able to analyze. Let's take an example. A client gives us a bank statement and we need to analyze the bank statement to decide what his expenses, what his transactions are. The AI engine will auto scan these transactions and should be able to identify, hey, this means this means this, go ahead and pass the entry. That ends the matter, right? So that is the type of transactions or issues or scenarios we're speaking of. And today, this AI is broadly used in 5 buckets. And what are these 5 buckets? First, it is used to understand. And understand what? Understand behavior, understand the data, understand patterns, all of this, right? It can, with the help of that understanding, automate certain activities and use intelligence into it. Please bear in mind, automation and AI are 2 different things. You could have intelligent automation. That's a different story. That's where AI and RPA come together. So if you have to ask me the layers, it goes like this. The first layer is automation. Then the second layer is a bot-based automation. It's a bot-based automation. And the third layer is intelligent-based automation, where it is not only sufficient if rules are being configured, you also need to understand what are the underlying fundamentals which is necessary. You may probably look into a data set and say, hey, this rule does not apply, I would rather apply this rule. It's automated, right? Next, you have what to do with detecting, identifying patterns. This is something very, very handy when it comes to a data set. Right? You may have an interesting set of data which you are analyzing and you may want to detect patterns out of it. An example of a pattern could be, what is the correlation or what is the relationship between sales price change vis-a-vis an input raw material being scarcely available or freely available or whatever, right? And you are trying to evaluate scenarios depending upon what type of a product, what type of industry it is. So you're identifying patterns of it. The next, which most of us use, Netflix, which suggests personalizing, giving your personalized suggestions, right? And that's another area where AI is significantly used, right? Your Netflix, your YouTube recommendations, the recommendations you get is not the recommendation which probably your friend or your family member would be getting, right? It's also based on what you actually see. And then last comes predicting. Right? Predicting is where the beauty of AI comes in and say, hey, this is what my forecast is. This is where I see this use case coming up and scenarios like that. Right? And this is one classical and another favorite example of mine where intelligence is built in. There was a village where they wanted to extend credit. And for obvious reasons, that village did not have a credit history because nobody had a formal bank account or, a credit history. So what do I do? The best way is to say, hey, this village does not have a credit history, therefore don't give it. Alternatively, you could go ahead and say, hey, this village, right, is made up of certain components. Can I see if I can make some data or information out of it? What they did was they plotted this entire information into a business sense. right? They planted wherever roads are there, water, greenery, a lot of these things they planted, and they were able to identify some intelligence index or prosperity index. The wider the road means there is a good means of transport. That means the village is more prosperous. The greenery is fairly high, canals have water, the shapes of building, all of those indicated that yes, there is a potential for me to make use of data. And that is where this intelligence comes into picture, right? But bear in mind, it is a human mind which thought throughout this process and implemented it. Do not forget that, right? It's that human mind which brought in this entire thing and now which is actually putting it into reality, right? Now, similarly, even during the time of this lockdown, Swiggy and Zomato, they also use these sort of technologies to identify if their driver is wearing mask and those sort of things, right? So in today, data and information, as long as I have, I'm able to use it in a more positive channel. With these tools, I'm able to use it much better. So what are the use cases of AI, right? And how do I look into it from a finance profession? Let's take a typical banking scenario, right? If I take a typical banking scenario, there are a series of transactions which goes through a particular bank, and they identify some suspicious pattern. But the problem in case of a bank is I do not know which is suspicious, which is not suspicious. It might look everything is suspicious unless you go and investigate. So how many such transactions will you go and identify? And that is where intelligence makes a lot of sense. Based on behavior of a customer, behavior of the category, the region he belongs to, you could define customized rules and the machine will start learning from it and say, hey, this is not very suspicious for this customer, whereas some other transaction is suspicious for this customer. Example is he making payments late night. He making payments to some transactions late in the evening. There could be multiple scenarios like that. I'm just giving a few examples. A few use cases from an accounting perspective, your invoice management, today it can automatically scan and they can learn the transaction and pass the journal entry. Your expense management and auditing, right? All of these expenses, whatever we were speaking of. Auto classification of receipts, your invoices, reimbursement, right? So that's another use case. For example, in India, we have Zoho Finance, which has a suite called or software called as Zoho expense management and reporting. They can do this automation driven technology, right? Then we have another thing called as bonus approvals, right? Your machine-based systems can do the calculations automatically based on a percentage and available system data and link both of them, right? To performance matrices and other things. Next thing which we have to look into is the interesting evolution which has taken place, the era of the chat GPT. And when I use the word era of the chat GPT, remember this, right? That there is a changing need which we have sensed in the entire ecosystem. The client, the employee, the regulator, all of them are having a sense of difference. All of them, the perspectives have changed, right? Like this kid who is asking here, hey, can't you give me a wireless treatment? Why are you pricking me, right? And that's exactly what the chat GPT era today is, right? The era of the chat GPT. What's happened in and around us? There's a sudden overhype on AI. People speak of. I was seeing some video on one of the social media channels where it says the Google founder Sundar Pichai made a mention of AI apparently 30 to 50 odd times in one of his recent presentations in the last, a month or two, right? So there's a huge overhype on AI, whether we do not know whether it's a hype or it is just, a reality. On one side, there's a possible fear with AI coming into what's going to happen. There is some sort of an uncertainty. There is some sort of a craze. Everybody says. I've seen kids and students thinking, why should I even study when AI can do everything? Right? Remember, fundamental knowledge, AI cannot. Your ability to rationally think, your contextual decision making, AI still has not become so very mature to even replace that. Right? And You're talking also about automation of everything, literally. With AI coming into picture, automate everything, right? May not be the scenario, but it could happen at least in a fairly organized industry. Smaller industries will take some. And the GPT powered tools are very, very overwhelming, right? The conversation, the way in which they interact, and things like that, right? And that's probably worthwhile to spend a few minutes on this concept of a chat GPT and why it has basically become a whole sensation, right? If you ask me, the word chat in simple language is what? Chatting, right? And GPT is a model, it's a pre-trained model, generative pre-trained model. Basically, what it does is you give a question, it has an ability from what you're asking to pick up and answer it, right? It had these multiple versions. Today, we're talking about 3.5 and 4. 4 is available only for a paid user, and I think it's cost you about $20 per month. Maybe you treat it like an intern or an article staff stipend what you're paying to them, right? Worthy to explore, right? And I found that the reasoning capability of GPT-4 is fairly very good. It's very good, right? And it's been able to excel quite well. And of course, we'll see if we can, probably look into a quick demo of this as well. So how do I use this entire technology? Because today I don't want to speak from an angle of, hey, this is what is AI and then disappear. I want to use it practically, right? So how do I use it? You explore by making prompts. You ask certain questions, you make it more and more customized, more and more specific, and that's where you reach it. And that is called as a prompt writing. Just like in Google, we call that search. In case of AI, we use the word prompt, right? And these are a few examples of a prompts. Checklist, matrix, risk control matrix, charts, tables, all of these things your chat GPT can do for you. Right? And chat GPT is just one example. There are multiple other players also. Right? So probably what I will do, right, quickly showcase you one sample scenario of how a chat GPT driven system or an era works like, right? And I've quickly shared with you a small screen out here, which is the chat GPT, right, which is on the browser. I've just logged in, and I have an option called as new chat, which I've clicked, right? And here it gives me 3.5 and GPT-4. I'm sorry, it gives me 3.5 and GPT-4, which you can notice over here, right? And I click on 4. It says this is basically the most capable model. Because I'm a paid user, I'm able to view that. 3.5 is the fastest model. It is reasonably good for most of the everyday task. It's available for free and plus users only. This is exclusive available for plus user because I use it as a plus user. Now, as an AI-based setup, one of the things which you will look into is, hey, how can I use this for my office? Let's say you are writing a proposal for a client and you want the proposal or an engagement letter, whatever you could call it, right? So you can simply say draft an proposal for doing an internal audit of, let's say, shoe manufacturing company, right? Consider in the scope, please cover key financial risks and for the shoe manufacturing, right? Let's see what happens. It is now understanding this and it is creating a proposal where it says subject, internal audit of whatever company, recipient name, objective, right? Internal control system. And it gives you a fairly good set of items which you did not even think of. Inventory management, revenue recognition, cost control, receivable payable, cash management, compliance with laws and regulations, debt management, right? And then it also talks about audit process. And this is where the beauty is. So it gives you a fair bit of element of what you're thinking and you're actually thinking of doing it, right? Now, you could probably take this information And you can say, hey, convert this into an engagement letter, it will do it for you, right? Convert the above into an engagement letter or basis the above information, prepare an engagement letter, right? In compliance with SA 210. I think SA 210 talks about engagement letter. So yeah. So let's see what happens. It says all of this, engagement letter for internal audit. I'm writing to confirm our understanding, objective and scope. Look at the beauty of it. It is able to pick up relevant information and see it is repeating certain things. The area include inventory, revenue recognition, cost control, which is already written over here, right? It is able to pick up from there. And this is what sometimes your interns can do, right? And look at this. The standard on auditing issued by ICAI, specifically following the guidelines on SA 210, agreeing the terms of audit engagement, talks about reporting, it talks about fees, right? And then it talks about all of these things. Now you got this ready and you want to take it to the next stage. Now you will require an audit plan. Prepare an audit plan based on above scope, right? So let's see what happens. It is now thinking aloud and saying what I can help you out with. And then let's see whether it is able to answer this question. I think it has got one. I think it's getting hung up for various reasons, but nevertheless, right? So I think you got a sense of what we are trying to speak and what we are trying to look at, right? And this can help you to prepare a checklist. It can help you to prepare audit plan. You could have various things which is perhaps possible, right? So that's basically what I wanted to give you a perspective. You can prepare RCM charts, tables also. I'm just coming back to my screens, so slides, so that you'll be able to get an understanding of what is this. Now, what are the other illustrative tools? These are a few other examples of illustrative tools. We spoke of ChatGPT. There is something called Grammarly, which takes care of grammar correction. Notion.ai, which is most focused on, again, notepad and writing. Data Snipper, useful for accountants for taking snippets and linking with financials or matching those audited documents. Then you have something called as durable.co. Durable.co is again an interesting website which can help you to create some interesting use cases, right? With website, right? It can probably help you to build your own website. It's called as durable.co. Then Avoma is a note maker. FinChat is a chat GPT for financial analysis. So like this, technology solutions are only increasing by the day. You just have to be a little conscious to identify, what's going on here. And let's come to chartered accountant field. What are the AI enabled tools for CS, right? And what are we speaking of? So we have our own homegrown product, which is Zoho, which has an inbuilt ZIA, which is basically an AI-powered assistant for business. Mr. Sridhar Vembu has also said that the Zoho is working on its own Make in India chatbot equivalent to that of a GPT, chat GPT, whatever you call it, right? So that's an interesting space we can see. What we have seen in the financial reporting space is certain disrupting factors that are bringing the change. It could be cloud, it could be integration based on the context, it could be connected banking, OCI, AI, ML analysis, voice interface based accounting, automation, right? So these are all interesting things which we are actually seeing as trends in this particular space. And not to forget, there are global companies who are using AI powered data analytics, which today is going to be getting inbuilt into Microsoft Excel, right? And in the form of ChatGPT, which is going to come up, we'll speak about that in a few slides from now, right? Mindbridge.ai, there's another interesting application which comes across that. In Microsoft Suite, the design ideas, whatever we speak of, is another example of AI. Some of my slides have been designed with the help of AI. Excel, there's a beautiful function called flash fill, worthwhile for you to go ahead and try it. There's a feature called as ideas or data analysis. That's another interesting feature. In the home tab, you will be able to identify this. It can auto analyze data. And as though this was not sufficient, of course, Word and Outlook has all of this. As though this was not sufficient, there is a very, very interesting thing which has come up, and that is Copilot. Copilot is ChatGPT enabled in Excel. You heard it right. ChatGPT enabled in Excel, right? Let's see how it does. So you have a data here, you want to analyze that, and you type a question, and you are able to get some trends. And then you ask questions. This is where your natural language processing comes into play. It gives you various scenarios. And now you want to take this trend and visualize. It is able to create some graphs. You're asking a what if scenario. And the more you're able to give questions, the more solutions or answers it's able to. And you could go ahead and create models. You could go ahead and create interesting trends. Right? So could you imagine these sort of tools and techniques which is available many years back, right? Things have significantly changed, and that's where I keep on telling you we are in a very, very interesting and an exciting era, right? But not to forget, ChatGPT cannot do everything for you, right? You can't ask ChatGPT, hey, finish this building, and therefore the building gets completed. No, that's not going to happen. But yes, we are talking definitely of interesting use cases. Right. So I'll pause a minute over here. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take it. Other before I head into the next section called blockchain. If there's any questions, I'll be able to quickly take them. I will just pause for a minute or so.
Currently, we haven't received any particular questions, sir. So we can maybe take up the questions after completing your session.
Lovely. So the next few minutes, what I would rather do is give you a perspective of what's happening on the other world, the world of blockchain, right? The B in that ABCD, blockchain. Now, what is blockchain? Many of them are talking a lot of interesting things about it. People are of the most common misconception is blockchain means cryptocurrency. That's not the reality. Blockchain is not cryptocurrency. Let's be very, very clear. Cryptocurrency is one of the use cases of blockchain. I repeat, cryptocurrency is one of the use cases of blockchain. Why do I bring that up? The simplest scenario is the moment I am speaking of a blockchain setup. Okay, the moment I speak of a blockchain setup. Many of them think that, oh, this is cryptocurrency, this is banned, this is illegal. No. Just like how one of the application of internet, I repeat, just like one of the application of internet is email, one of the application of blockchain is cryptocurrency. So what is that meaning of that? In a layman's language, it forms a chain of blocks. It forms a chain of blocks. And inside each block, there is some information. The beauty of that information is nobody can alter. That means it is a write once, read many. Nobody can alter it. If you have to alter that, you need to insert a fresh box, read both the things cumulatively, and therefore you will have to conclude that it has been altered. Am I making sense? That means blockchain is a series or a chain of blocks. And why it is called a block? Because in each block, there are some information, which we will cover in the next slide. Right? And that Series of blocks together form a chain, and therefore the word blockchain. Now, in each block, what does it have? It has something called as data. The data is stored in an encrypted format and it's called as a hash. So it has what is called hash. And because I said it's a series of chains, it should know what is the previous chain. So it'll also have the previous hash, right? So let's take the simple example for you to understand it better. Every time, and before, by the way, every time before this data is added to the block, right? There is a beautiful function called as validation. And only after validation, the data goes inside the block. So if I have to explain in a nutshell, imagine you're going for a trip, right? Imagine you're traveling, you're going for a trip. Now you are going with your friends and you're designated, each friend is responsible for one particular expenditure, right? You are talking about, let's say, food, another friend is talking about stay, but you have decided each of them different expenditure. Now, when you decide different categories of expenditure for different stakeholders, each of them spend it, you don't want any confusion. So you create a group, a chat group or a WhatsApp group or a Teams group or whatever, and start putting messages there and everybody gives a thumbs up or an acceptance. If all of them have not given an acceptance, that means that expenditure cannot be considered or processed. Are you getting a sense of what I'm trying to say? Right? So that is basically how you are trying to define this. Now, when you put that into perspective or when you put this into context, when multiple people bring this up together, there is no way that you can deny or undo a particular transaction. So every transaction goes into the system only after somebody is given a thumbs up, right? That means a system or a setup where every transaction, somebody is giving a heads up, and only after that it goes into the system, and this somebody could be one person or multiple persons. After that the transaction gets entered into the system. Once it enters the system, there is no way you can revoke the transaction. That's the beauty of this, and this is used in all scenarios where it can have a good benefit, is where there is a requirement of reconciliation. Right? So you request a transaction, this transaction is broadcasted to the P2P network. What we call it as a peer-to-peer network within our friend circle. The moment this transaction is broadcasted, all of them have given the stamp and they've given the acceptance. And therefore, we call it as consensus. The moment the consensus is received, that means the transaction is verified. You take that block and you push it to a series of blocks or a chain of blocks, and therefore blockchain. And once this is added, your transaction is set off completed. Right? You might be wondering, sir, why should we go for such a complicated setup? You know, I might as well use the traditional model. Right? Of course, blockchain is having some bit of a resistance there. But the entire model today, if you look into any regulatory or any setup, there is one central authority who's controlling everything. The whole purpose of a blockchain is to decentralize. That means give authority in the hands of the people. Which means I will not decide the rules. All of us as a community will decide the rules, and each of them will decide and base their decision, authentication, etc. The transaction gets. It has its own challenges, but nevertheless, this is how it is. Right? Let's take an example: a car dealer and an automobile manufacturer. They are into a blockchain. The moment the car dealer accepts the transaction initiated by the manufacturer, in both the records, the transaction gets entered, such that you cannot alter it. Right? I'm just giving you scenarios. Or your GST website. The moment you upload a GST 2A or a 3B, it is automatically getting logged so that nobody can go ahead and play around on the mischief. That's also another use case. Right? So what is the content in each of the block? It has data, it has hash, and also has a hash of the previous block. That means the previous reference, except for the first block. The first block is called as the genesis block, right? The first one. So it's a series of blocks which comes into picture. Now this series of blocks, it is connected with each other, and therefore we call the word blockchain. In this entire technology to work, we use a technology called as cryptography, where it has what is called as a hashing. Hashing in layman's language, converting one form of text to another form of text. One form of text to another form of text, such that only the intended recipient will know how to decipher. So nobody can go ahead and make the modification. Let's take an example of the concept of hashing, right? And I have a word called dosa. Very simple word, DOSA, with a capital D. And I want to hash this. Let's see how big the word is. Wow. It's bigger than a dosa, right? So this is the hash algorithm generated for the word dosa. Assuming I make a small alteration with the alphabet only change, rest all remains the same. My hash significantly changes. You can hardly see any comparison between the top and bottom. And obviously I add some masala to it and make it a masala dosa. Obviously the hash value is a little. Are you with me? Yeah. So basically that is what I'm trying to give you a sense that, hey, this encryption coupled with this technology is basically where blockchain is heading. And blockchain at the end of the day has 5 broad components. The first is the encryption of cryptography, which I just spoke of. Second is a peer-to-peer network. The players who are in and around us, right? It could be the banking panel or banking channel. It could be A bank and a B bank. It could be a vendor and a customer, anybody, right? Then there's an element of consensus where only after we accept the transaction goes to the system. You have a ledger which keeps a record of data or the entries, and you have some validation tools. And therefore, these 5 becomes the very fundamental component of the blockchain. Now, having understood all of this, right, I think it is worthwhile to also look into what are the other components from a practical perspective. On the topmost, you have the actual software which is running. On the bottommost, you have what is the infrastructure. And in between, you have a lot of blockchain components which is able to pull up this information and transmit or broadcast it, and they accept it, the entry gets passed. That means every transaction will have 3 entries. Every transaction will have 3 entries. My books, your books, and the books of blockchain. So yours, even if it fails, I can always go to the blockchain in this way. Because both of us are verified, only then the transaction has been accepted. Now this blockchain can be of 2 variations. Very interesting. A public and a private. A public blockchain is open for anybody and everybody. You also can join, I also can join. Normally a Bitcoin comes under that. It is also referred to as a permissionless blockchain. That means you don't have any permission for that. Whereas on the other end, you have private blockchain. A private blockchain is a permissioned blockchain. What is a permission? That means you have granted permission. Only those people whom you have agreed they can be part of the network, not every Tom, Dick and Harry can come. Right? So it's more secure compared to that of a public is what people opinion. Right? So that's a major difference. Right? Public is open to everybody, private is restricted. In public, you don't know who does the transaction. In private, you can have known transaction, you could have done the KYC and then ask them to do it. The code is open source in public, whereas private is proprietary. Most of the banks in India are now heading to a private-based blockchain. Trust in a public is lesser because you do not know who has done it, whereas in private it is more easier, right? And there is, let's not go into these proof of authority, ownership, all of those, these minor validators, all of these are to do with the processing logic. Then a very interesting feature when it comes to a blockchain is this wording called as smart contract. Smart contract, as the name says, it's a self-executable or it's a smart or an intelligent contract. A contract which can execute on its own. You got it right. A contract which can execute on its own on a particular date, time, or a particular event being completed. Example, you have completed the audit and you have entered into an agreement on a smart contract with a customer. On the completion of the 30th day of your invoice, automatically you get paid. Right? That's a smart contract. And a contract created between parties. Both parties know each other, but you could retain your anonymity status. It is stored on a ledger. You can define deadlines. it self-executes on the due date. And you can use it for a variety of use cases, for keeping records, for performing trade activities, settlement, for supply chain, for mortgage. You can do it for real estate. What is real estate? Basically storing the building, so your building market, because today proving who is the owner of this real estate is a big challenge. Employment arrangements, copyright protection, right? Voting, insurance, right? IoT devices. So the use cases are huge when it comes to blockchain, right? And if you have to talk about the way in which smart contracts or any of those have been configured or set up, they're set up into these four things. One is a digital currency. We are speaking of cryptocurrency, peer-to-peer lending, all of those. Then we're talking about record keeping. Imagine one of the biggest challenge in a property is the title, or whom does the property belong to? Because there's a lot of dispute in and around it. There could be some forgery and other things. So in a blockchain-based environment, you trust the system because any transaction authentication has to take place from both the ends, and only then it gets updated. So that's a title record, right? Voting, you could probably say, hey, I will vote it on a blockchain-based environment. Ownership, legal title and ownership are passed on the blockchain setup. Look into the look at the securities market, equity market, debt market, derivatives. All of these require a smart chain blockchain smart contract enabled setup for a very simple reason. If it is smart contract or blockchain linked, faster settlement, right? So we are talking about interesting use cases. And then if you go to smart contracts, right, we are talking about escrow agreements, we're talking about wager, we're talking about digital rights, where newer business models today are getting formed, my dear friends, right? And today a whole lot of an interesting landscape is developed that's called as a DeFi landscape, right? Decentralized finance, right? That's also an interesting landscape which is evolving. Right, so that brings us to some interesting thoughts and perspective. And before I move on to my next thing, right, I thought I'll give you a perspective of how these blockchain or these transactions look like. Therefore, do a quick demo of how this concept of a block looks like, right? Just for you to get a sense of what we are speaking and how this transaction looks like. Right, so I'm going to quickly bring up a particular screen out here. Just give me a minute, where I'm going to show you a series of blocks which are going to be committed, and that is something which you'll find it quite useful. Right, so I've written a word over here, and I'll go back to my same wordings. I've written the word dosa, and I do a mine. Mine is nothing but validation of a transaction. It is validating this transaction, and it takes a few seconds, and it has generated a hash. Now I am writing the same word again, right? And if I mine this, you will normally get the same hash, but encryption logic includes the previous hash as well, right? Or let's simply add the word masala. It considers a combination of all of this, and it is going to mine this transaction, and then this transaction is committed, right? And I can go a little farther and I say, hey, add sambar to it, right? And I mine this, right? So I can have multiple blocks created this way, and each of these blocks, please note, the previous hash is nothing but what you see, which is repeated out here, right? Whereas the generated hash is completely new. And that's basically how this whole concept of a blockchain works. To understand hashing in a simple language, you could have a hash like this. Look at this. As and when I type, things are changing. Dosa is tasting. Right? So the entire concept of a hash is encrypting this entire thing into an information which you and I in a normal sense cannot understand. Right? So that's the concept of a hashing and algorithm which I was making a mention. Now, having understood all of these, right, I think you also have to understand some innovative use cases which are coming into the blockchain setup. And one such innovative use case, which I'm going to spend a few seconds, is on the concept called as Oracle. And this Oracle is not an Oracle company, right? It is basically an agent who is in the outside the blockchain brings in the transaction into the blockchain. I repeat, an agent who is outside the blockchain brings in a transaction into the blockchain. Let's take an example. An insurance company has implemented blockchain for faster claim settlement. But one of the risks in a case of an insurance company is, how do I know whether this claim is a valid or not? So you can say, hey, let's bring the police department also into the blockchain, and they accept it. But it is unlikely that they will agree to come into your insurance blockchain. So there need to be one person, a real world scenario, where he goes to the police station, validates that claim, uploads the document, and you hit the accept button. And the moment the accept button is done, the entire process gets initiated. Right? So he is a real world guy who goes outside the blockchain, validates something, and submits something. Right? And that's where Oracle comes into picture. And this example of how oracles could be used. In the center, you can have the Ethereum Hyperledger or the Bitcoin setup, and all of the information or interesting parties in and around, web access, API access, etc. And all of them are interconnected with the help of oracles, right? And that's how you could have an ecosystem running through. Let's take a simple example of a banking for us to understand this use case a little better. And I'm going to take a few scenarios out here, right? The first scenario is interbank transfer. Today, between bank, it takes at least about 1 or 2 hours for you to make the settlement. You can say, no, sir, UPI, IMPS happens very quickly. Those are only few use cases, but interbank settlement takes longer, right? Whereas with blockchain coming into picture, the Vajra platform, which NPCI is proposing to discuss and bring it up, this is going to happen way, way faster. Next is remittance, online remittance, right? Between you and me and you, whatever. Smart contract, I think we already spoke of. Crypto banking. Record sharing. One of the bigger challenges today is KYC compliance or bank sharing, bank statement sharing with my auditor or my financial advisor, etc. With crypto and with blockchain based setup, I can easily share it. Loan syndication. Loan syndication is multiple players soliciting for a particular loan, right? Regulatory technology, the reg tech environment, we call it, right? So again, blockchain is coming into that. Trade finance is another interesting use case where you are multiple parties, right? So the whole aspect is where you see multiple parties, multiple scenarios, multiple reconciliations. Blockchain will fit in all these very well. And this is an example of a consortium trade finance which is being used, and this is called as the HK TFP, Hong Kong, powered by Hong Kong. And then you have Voltron, where you have R3. Then you have Marco Polo, again powered by R3. Batavia, which is IBM. VTrade by IBM. Cogmo by Ethereum. So like that, there are multiple players. And within those players, these are all the major banks or financial institutions. If they have to play around fund transfer, etc., these guys are able to initiate, right? An example could be, let's say there's a fund transfer between Hong Kong to India, right? And I have a Hong Kong, let's say I have a Standard Chartered Bank in India, and the client's bank is DBS in Hong Kong. So in India, if I have to initiate it, I have to transfer from Standard Chartered to DBS. DBS in turn transfers locally, right? It's going to take about 3 to 5 days. With this HKTFP protocol or HKTFT, whatever setup they've done, instantly you can enable. Right? This is our own Vajra platform by NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. On the left hand side, you see external parties, and right hand side also. In between, you have the Vajra platform where you have the participant nodes. These participant nodes are nothing but banks, right? Through API calls, they're sending across this information, and they're actually capturing it. And they use a technology called DLT, distributed ledger technology, which is, you can say blockchain in layman's language. This is a very interesting use case of how food tracking Walmart was able to do with the help of blockchain, right? What happened was, in case of Walmart, they had interesting scenarios where food was getting spoiled, or somebody consumed the food and they were not able to identify from where they had purchased that food. And they wanted to backtrace, okay, you've purchased it from so-and-so store, but how did you get this in the store? You have to backtrace it. And that is where agriculture produce, the meat, poultry, dairy, they felt that it makes sense to enable blockchain setup with Hyperledger. They were able to implement this entire thing from a 7-day tracking to probably a 2-second tracking. Right, that's the massive shift and space we're talking about. And they were able to bring this tracking, what we call it as provenance. Provenance is a historical trend or a track of everything from first step to the last step. Then always an interesting question comes is, I agree with blockchain, but what is the impact on audit? There's a huge potential to streamline your financial reporting process. Auditor today can literally have real-time data access. He could test the internal controls. He could audit smart contracts, oracles. Those are all newer areas of audit, right? Of course, it's going to take some time, maybe a few more years, but these are where the transactions take place. And the way and style of his auditing is also going to change because every transaction is already having 3 entries, triple ledger visa. My books, your books, the blockchain books. Obviously, on the other side, you have risk and challenges. You have vendor-specific risk. You have credential security. Credential security is more to do with if somebody accidentally steals the data. Legal and compliance risk, more to do with your regulatory requirements, data security. Scalability is a big risk which we are noticing. Can the blockchain, because every transaction has to be validated by so many people, is it scalable or not? Right? Interoperability. One blockchain I have, you have another blockchain. Can both these blockchains speak with each other? Processing power, time, energy, resources, that's a huge. And not to forget, storage will be a very big challenger. From where will you store so much of information? Right? Storage is definitely going to be a big hurdle or challenge, right? So those are from a risk and challenge perspective. But let us remember, there's a lot of professional opportunity. You could assist in designing a functional structure because you know the business process. There is somebody else who knows the technology. Both of you come together and design the business process. Evaluation of POC, the trial products. We have assessments of risk in implementation, impact on audit, right? We have to assess what is the audit impact. And of course, not to forget audit of smart contracts on Oracle, which I said, these are newer opportunities. One of the popular questions which keeps coming is, sir, is blockchain implemented in India? Yes. There are all few examples of few of the states having implemented blockchain. It's a little old statistics, but definitely worth looking into it. And the top 3 use cases which we are noticing are the 3 which is mentioned over here. Registration of land, farm insurance, and issuing digital certificates. It will take one step at a time, but definitely that is actually. And these are few companies who are individually doing it with the state government's help, and they have mentioned all of those available. In terms of a roadmap, what we have seen is 0 to 12 months, normally technology media companies have been able to adopt it. 12 to 24 months, utilities, resources, government, not-for-profit, and post 24 to 36 months, right? You're talking about bigger players also adopting the entire concept of blockchain, right? It's only evolving in the days to come, and you'll find a lot of exciting opportunities in this space. Now, as all of this is evolving, that means it is worth for us to look into what is the profession in the days ahead. What is this profession 2.0? And if you look into profession 2.0, whether you're a CA firm or a finance professional, right, the 2.0 is going to significantly change. Your tax filing services may become tax filing automation. Your traditional audit and assurance will now become AI and analytics enabled audit. Your MIS and reporting will soon become advanced analytics based and visualization. Your local presence will become a digital presence, and that's what the profession 2.0 is. And look on the other side, your corporate finance. Finance was no longer a support function. It is now going to become integrated with business. That's a very interesting use case. That means gone are the days where we said finance is a support function. It's an integrated function. Manual push-based reporting is no longer going to be there. You're going to talk about cloud-based automating, RPA-based systems, etc. Right? And that's the profession 2.0. And for that, we need to start gearing up, right? And perhaps the day is not so far when a robot probably asks you this question. Hey man, would you take this? I am not a robot box for me, right? It could probably ask you, hey, we'll do everything, only you sit in front of the system and show yourself that you are the human element, right? So what is it that takes for me to gear up for this challenge, right? And how do I go through this? First and foremost, understand these technologies and see where you can use these technologies. Maybe a blockchain may be a little overwhelming at this stage, but AI is definitely something which you can try. It could be like automating something using Excel macros. Go ahead and try it. And you don't know how to write an Excel macro, no problem. Go to ChatGPT, ask it to write a macro and tell how you should insert it. You go to Excel and you go ahead and insert it, right? Of course, you can play around with it. You cannot replace the entire expertise, but you can go ahead and do it. You could explore and research. In this digital age, information is just one click away. The biggest university is YouTube, right? And test before you commit. Whatever exercise activity you do, please test it before committing it. Because you cannot go on a highway where at a speed where you're not able to control, right? So test before you commit. Develop a standard procedure or a protocol, series of steps. This is what I'll do, this is what I'll do, this is what I'll do. And measure those results. If you are able to bring this entire thing and you like to keep on doing it iteratively, I think you'll slowly start getting up for the challenge. Right? So my key message to you, my dear friends, is the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest opportunities. Right? So it's left up to you how you want to create these opportunities. And to my sense, disruption always creates opportunities. I repeat, disruption always creates opportunities. So it's an opportunity for us to adapt and grow, at the same time understand some element of risk. With automation coming in, your traditional revenue streams will slowly start disappearing. Right? Service will become increasingly commoditized. That means you will get a standard solution with certain features. And we're talking about an era where bookkeeping is done by bots. We need to identify newer business models. There's going to be a transition phase, but yes, there is going to increasingly be cases like this, which is we are going to see. And these newer technologies are also going to give us a lot of opportunities for us to reskill, upskill. And that is a very, very, very important thing, because failure to reskill and upskill will probably put us into a Pandora's box. Right? So this is where your time focus on reskilling and starting to use these technologies for good. And the more these technologies you're able to use it, my dear friends, the better you become. And it's all about experimenting. It's all about experimenting, because you need to experiment. If you don't experiment, then you're not learning, right? And that's where I keep on saying disruption creates opportunity. And not to forget the great Indian jugaad, which we always keep on thinking, right? This is one of the cases where I saw in a hotel where a split AC between two rooms was literally like this, right? An AC. And now I understood what is the actual meaning of a split AC, right? It's literally split, right? So why I'm bringing this perspective is, in any scenario, do not forget your Indian mindset and thought process, right? We are made for identifying innovative and local solutions, that jugaad option, whatever you can call it, but by not compromising the fundamentals of the client requirements, right? Thank you so much for being a very, very patient audience. We are quick, overview about us. We are Ken & Co, based out of Bangalore. We recently set up an office in US. Predominantly, we are focusing on GRC and risk consulting, IT audit, SOX and SOC. Predominantly, I am a guy who loves technology and see the power of technology to add value-added services, right? These are just a few examples of the value-added technology-based services which we do. Many of them ask, hey, is there work in technology? I think there is no end to the amount of work which we have, right? So there's just a few illustrative cases of tech-enabled solutions, right? On that note, I think it was a wonderful experience. It is really amazing that all of you are connected. Really great that you were able to listen through this an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes of deliberation, and happy to take questions if any. Otherwise, feel free to be in touch, and we could interact more in our social media. right? Over to the organizers. If there is any questions, we will be able to pick it.
Thank you very much, sir. That was undoubtedly a very interesting session for all of us. So we have 3 questions. Shall we start with the questions, or you need some time? Okay. So
Please
the first question is, how do we enable Chat GPT in Excel?
Currently, it does not get enabled. You just have to wait for some more time. They're going to bring it up.
Sure. Thank you. The second question is, if we had to use blockchain in our domain, are there any specific use cases for us as audit professionals to understand better?
Enterprise customers are coming up with blockchain based use cases. The non-enterprise customers will take a little longer. So everything will have to be a little patient here.
Okay, thank you. So the last question would be, to what extent should we equip ourselves technologically to be relevant? What are the ways of doing it? Suggested courses and tips to develop application ability and skills.
The answer is very simple. Be curious. Because earlier there was a oil engined powered vehicle. Then you had, all these fancy diesel, petrol vehicles, all of those things. Did we learn how to drive, or did we learn how to use it? The answer is yes. Then came an era of auto gear systems, auto mode, right? Are we getting geared to it? Yes. In future, there will be driverless cars, right? Will we get used to it? The answer is yes. So we need to be update and current and keep observing the trends, keep listening to webinars like this, and keep yourself updated. And that's the way you will.
Thank you, sir. These are all the questions that we had.
Great.
So many of the participants are asking for the PPT presentations.
I will share it across and you can figure out how to.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing.
Thank you so much. It was a very nice experience. Be in touch, all of you.
Surely. Thank you, sir. So now is the time for second session of the evening that would be taken up by CA Amish Thakkar, sir. So I'll just briefly read his profile. Sir has over 22 years of sterling international experience in rendering expert professional services in the field of forensic audit, investigation, system audit, data analytics, machine learning, process re-engineering in ERP, SAP, and CBS environment, security reviews, risk-based audit, compliance and assurance, operations, process reviews, and various business advisory services, including corporate training. Sir assists regulators like TRI, FIU, income tax, SEBI, RBI, local police authorities, cyber cell in various investigations and forensic assignments. His industry experience areas are media, shipping, and BFSI intermediaries. Sir has over 13 years for ISA course as faculty and moderator at Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Over 8 years for FAFD course as faculty, sessions that are taken across India, Dubai, and Bahrain. He has designed course structure for 3 days workshop on data analytics using CART tools and conducted hands-on practical training sessions across India. As an advisor, Sir has provided suggestions and guidance for various courses to IT committee of ICI. Sir has also conducted sessions at Gujarat Science Forensic University for executive management course on forensic accounting. Welcome, Amish sir. The dais is yours to share your knowledge with all of us today.
Thank you, Vikas. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
I'm not sure why my cam is turning off automatically. I'm trying my best to turn it on. Just pardon me.
Yes, no issue, sir.
I have no idea why it is behaving like this, but is it okay if we continue without video?
Yes, surely, it's not an issue.
Hopefully, while the session is ongoing, it may turn on.
Maybe we can try. Yes.
Side effects of technology, isn't it? All right, Vikas. Thank you very much, and a very warm good evening to each one of you. How many participants we have, Vikas? You're on mute.
I'll just check in a second, sir.
Sure.
So we have around close to 300, sir.
Oh, that's a wonderful
Yes.
count and very encouraging that Friday evening. Hope I am visible now.
Yes.
Okay, hopefully this will remain like this till the end of the session. But it's wonderful to hear and very encouraging that on a Friday morning, on a month end, as well as on a quarter end, we have got more than 300 participants attending on a technology. And, this keeps us moving. And this is an encouragement for each one of us. I'm a techie CA kind of. I don't practice in a traditional domains. So for me, IT is no more income tax. For me, IT is information technology. I'm glad that 300 participants are there who are interested to kind of explore the opportunities in ABCD domains of technology. So I've got 1.5 hours and I'm going to take you through the journey of C&D, which is cybersecurity as well as data analytics. I'll change the course of the session. Instead of taking cybersecurity first, I'll be taking data analytics because the colleague faculty and the speaker has touched upon the concepts of AI and blockchain. And there is some sort of a connect which we can establish between these two emerging technologies with data analytics. So it would be prudent in terms of your continuation of understanding to take you through data analytics immediately after the session of AI. And then as the session progresses, we will look at cybersecurity as a practice area. Well, so I'll share my screen. Just allow me a minute. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. So let us begin the journey of data analytics. And let me take you through what are the opportunities in data analytics for a chartered accountant. I'm sure you being here, you would be interested to know how can we leverage and kind of diversify our practice into data analytics. Okay. So let me give you a kind of a direction to this session. To begin with, what I would be doing is I would be taking you through how industry is leveraging on data analytics. Post which, how a chartered accountant can contribute in the success of organization in leveraging this technology. And lastly, I'll guide you if you need to develop a career out of it. What are the courses? What are the knowledge areas where you can gather insights about data analytics? I'll also share one real life case study considering the time at hand where we have introduced analytics abilities coupled with AI and machine learning, how we have benefited using these technologies and how my client has benefited by this. So this is going to be the agenda for data analytics. So to begin with, since it's a webinar, I won't have any opportunity to ask you questions, but the purpose of keeping this image is to tell you that we need to develop friendship with data. When we all were pursuing our course of CA, we have been told that we need to be a good listener. Since the childhood, parents, relatives, colleagues, teachers, and mentors told us that we need to develop friendship with books. Every day we should be reading 15 minutes any random book. Here I am today telling you that in case if you want to develop your career into data analytics, friends, it is inevitable for you to develop friendship with data. You need to be talking to data, you need to be smelling data, you need to be, you know, extracting meaningful insights from data. Okay, when you speak with data, when you make friendship with data, data will give you a lot of business insights, which even the owners of the business don't know. Owners of the business are busy in doing their business. They are busy growing their business. They are busy handling various business related, operations related issues which they face on a day-to-day basis. However, the good thing is that they, in the course of business, keep collecting data. Most of the organizations are on an SAP or an ERP platform, which are sophisticated application platforms which keep collecting data of each and every business activity. Now, what is our job, friends, is to mine this data, okay, analyze this data and infer meaning out of it. Give business that insight which they don't know about their own business by mining their own data, which they keep collecting during the course of the business every day. This is in nutshell the practice of data analytics. And who would be better than us, chartered accountants, to be into this domain? Okay. We as a chartered accountant by nature have a keen eye for detail. We play with numbers like nobody else. We deal with numbers day in, day out. We know the regulatory framework within which client operates. We equally know the business processes because we do risk assessment. We perform process audit. We perform internal audit. And thereby, we are equally aware of various business processes which are critical to the businesses, like the management knows. Therefore, management entrust this task upon us that, hey, look, we are collecting so much of data. Can you churn it? Can you mine it and help us resolving the business issues? And that's precisely what we did, is what I'm going to tell you once I'm about to take you through the entire presentation. So by this image, I'm trying to tell you that if you are serious in pursuing your career or expanding your practice area into data analytics domain, which is, by the way, full-fledged practice, you will be continuously involved in plenty of work. This is the need of an hour. So you can seriously consider as one of the business vertical to render services in data analytics. Okay, so the point is you need to make friendship with data. This long poking nose, long Pinocchio nose indicates that you have to smell data, you have to sense data. Okay. Now, I'll tell you how industry is leveraging on this. So have a look at this. This is the clip that I've recorded in my mobile phone, which is immediately after the big billion day sale concluded by Flipkart. Look at the wonderful analytics which Flipkart has released within 10 minutes from the end of big billion day sale. Within 10 minutes, okay? Thus, while I'm speaking, you can also observe my screen and see the wonderful analytics that they've come up with. Okay, they said 15 million plus customers got BBD deal, big billion day deals, 10 million plus total gamers, 75 crore worth of rewards distributed, 11 lakh plus Indian sellers and artisans have shown their products, showcased their products. And now what Amitabh Bachchan here says is, mere paas data hai, and what he is up to by using this data. He says more than 27 times the football in a cricket stadium are the number of visitors on Flipkart only during big billion day sale. Okay, Credit Extended can fund 2,365 missions to the space. Yeah, imagine the volume of success coupled with numbers and the storytelling. This is the magic, my friend, of data analytics. Now look at further analytics. Phones sold when lined up can reach from Delhi to Mumbai. Isn't it a beautiful way of saying how much phones we have sold? Total shoes shipped is equal to the weight of 67 blue whales. Tea purchased can serve England 3 times. Mattresses sold when stack one over the other can scale Mount Everest 3 times. Friends, this is the humongous success story which Flipkart is sharing with customers just to indicate how much success a big billion day sale was for them. Yeah, so I'm not going to read every one of it. Just go through whatever you can catch while the screen is moving. But they are amazingly wonderful insights. Yeah, total EV sold is equal to planting 1.5 lakh trees. Huge shout out to these exciting features. Now look at some more interesting insights. Over 500,000 shoppers experienced the mobile festival world on camera filters. Virtual try-on, which is a new feature that they have introduced, helped 25% makeup shoppers in creating their own looks. This is nothing but an AI in action, which our co-faculty just spoke about. This is where AI is changing the lives of corporates. Wishmasters covered distance same as 60 trips to the moon and back. That's the kind of breadth and distance covered by the courier partners, only delivering products ordered during Big Billion Day sale. Now, this is how Flipkart big data analytics engine analyzes the data within 10 minutes, publishes this report on their sites. Now, again, when the Big Billion Day sale will come, please keep an eye. The day Big Billion Day sale overs, within 10 minutes, it is available on midnight at 15 minutes past 12 at their website and on their mobile app. So if you are awake, then just see the wonderful insights that they are offering. So the point I'm trying to drag here or kind of say here is that, friends, data is the most valuable asset for any organization. Everybody is after collecting data. Everybody is after analyzing the data. Every single move you make on Google, on Yahoo, on Flipkart, on Facebook is monitored. Every single click, every surfing pattern is being gathered, and your parallel virtual profile is being created. You would not know more about yourself than what others know if you have a very huge presence on social media. Everybody knows about you only based on your surfing pattern. Why? Because every single click of yours is getting recorded, analyzed, pattern is drawn, and you have been given something called as a personal hyper uh, customization. You will only get to know something that you're looking for is basically thanks to data analytics. A products that you're looking for, a hotel booking or a flight booking or a railway reservation or any product that you're looking for, you will be flooded with the relevant data only purely because of data analytics. Big data seamlessly analyzes your data on a real-time basis and produces a wonderful result. So friends, information is the oil of 21st century and the analytics is the engine. Without analytics, that data has no meaning. So if you are seriously considering pursuing this domain, there's a huge potential to grow here, and the trend has already begun. It is not too late before you board the same train, because now many people like you are boarding the train. So before this practice gets saturated, it's high time you should seriously think about moving and developing into this domain. Since the session is on data analytics, I'll also base my arguments, discussions on data and the credible data. So 2008, pre-COVID times, there is a report which comes from World Economic Forum, which is one of the most credible organization, and they do this sort of research and publishes their survey reports every alternate year. So I was just looking at 2018, which was a pre-COVID era, and look at this. What it has to say is technologies by proportion of companies likely to adopt by 2022 We have already crossed this landmark. Okay. User and entity big data analytics stood at number one with 85% adoption ratio, which means 85% of the corporates are going to introduce data analytics as one of their domain to analyze data on a real time. Flipkart was just one of the example that I showed you. This is how they use data analytics. Now, when Flipkart can create this data to thank the customer, imagine how much they would churn the data, how much they would analyze for kind of deriving business insights. Yeah. For the next big billion day, what are the pros and cons? Where do they lag? Which domains, which product did well? Everything will be provided to them on their fingertips in a very lively dashboards using BI tools, which we'll talk about a little later. Now, from 2018, when I move again, in 2018, what they predicted was there were new roles that will emerge by 2022. And again, you look at the number one, data analysts and scientists, big data specialists and digital transformation specialists. Friends, all these emerging technologies, A, B, C, D, will require professionals who can help the clients in their digital transformation journey. From moving from a standalone application to SAP, from moving to in-house data center to cloud, from securing the data which is in-house to when they move on cloud, securing their web servers when data is available on the web server, cybersecurity, analyzing the data, yeah, introducing IoT, robotics process automation. So every organization who is going to adopt the technology will require professionals like you and me who can help them in their digital transformation journey. And friends, these projects are long term. It's not that overnight you can switch over from a standalone Tally ERP to a sophisticated SAP. Yeah, it requires a lot of, it's a project in itself. It requires a lot of planning in advance, pre-planning, during the migration and post-migration. And a lot of audits are required even after the migration is over. So there'll be enough work will come. There'll be a lot of different varieties of work that will come. And that was predicted much before COVID came in. Look at the threat. What it says is redundant roles. Friends, look at the number two, accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll. Look at this one, accountants and auditors. Even the financial analysts, like fund managers, research analysts, their job is in danger, friends. Why? Because algorithmic trading, algorithmic analytics is taking over. The way AI system can mine the data using machine learning, yeah, we individual has a limit beyond which we cannot analyze the data the way machines can analyze. The accuracy of prediction of the future prices or the NAVs or whatever, a fund manager can do up to a certain level, but machines can do much better, faster, accurate. So these jobs are slowly and gradually fading away. Even if you look at the jobs of lawyers, is in danger. Why? Because there are AIs, there are softwares which does the job of a lawyer. If I need to prepare for a particular case, I need not hunt in the books which relevant case law. I just need to put appropriate search characters, and then from the software, I'll get those relevant verdicts, relevant cases of the high courts and the Supreme Courts, and done. So a lot of manual work, a lot of intellectual work is now getting embedded into artificial intelligence engine. And they are able to deliver because in the back end, they analyze data. Yeah. So this was the scenario in 2018. Now, look at 2020 reports, what Economic Forum has to say. Now you look at the same thing. See, these are the same increasing and decreasing demand. Yeah, nothing has changed. So even 2020, the situation remained the same. Yeah, which means data analytics is still topping the chart. These are the 15 skills that you should look for if you were to remain occupied over a period of decade. This is a very exciting time, friends. And I strongly encourage, if you have a flair for technology and if you're really keen to expand your horizons, move along with traditional practice, move towards the technologically advanced practice areas, then these are the skill sets that will keep you engaged. It will open up opportunities globally also. There are top 10 firms, global firms, which are hiring left, right, and center if you have good command on any of these skill sets. Yeah. So these reports are available in public domain. So I've just taken it because it was available in the public domain and they are all reliable, authentic data. Yeah. So I'm sure that now this 15-20 minutes of interaction, you are now convinced that data analytics is a need of an hour. Okay. What we are chartered accountants, and by virtue of being CA, we are subject matter expertise. We have subject matter specialization. We are good in audits. You need to just acquire the skill set in this third angle. And as an integrated professional, you will be able to serve your clients better. Thereby, they benefit out of your knowledge and you grow in turn as well. One example of how industry is leveraging analytics I've already given you about Flipkart. Another very basic example which you all can connect, I'll give you is on these companies. I'm sure looking at the brands, every one of you at some or the other point happens to be their customer. You might have availed their services. You can't, there's nobody in this forum or in this world who have not availed the services. Yeah. Now, what is so unique about this? So, if you look at the second image, I have just given you the period in which, or the year in which they have got launched, they started their business. Now, if you look at Google, Amazon, Netflix, they all came in 1990 to 2000 era. Then came a second lot of companies which are Uber, Airbnb, WhatsApp, Facebook. They're all they all came after a decade or so. But all of them are successful. Yeah. Even those companies who have come earlier, who have established their business earlier, they have witnessed the transition and still they are successful. They are competing with companies who have come much later. So we need to understand why these companies are successful. One of the reason is that they understood the digital transformation and the need for it, and they pursued their path as the technology changed, which means they have adopted to the change. There are so many companies which were very popular. Today they are not in existence anymore. Yeah, like camera companies. Yeah, Kodak, for example, or Xerox, for example, or Nokia. To a greater extent, they had good presence in mobile market, but today they are no more there. HTC, for example, they have not adopted to technology. They have remained orthodox. They thought that technologies is just an add-on to the business. They forgot to realize that they are the backbones of the business. Without them, one cannot success. And same applies to our practice friends. Today, income tax practice, ROC related compliances, GST compliances, everything is automated. You have to get through the technology. You can't fill in the income tax returns manually. You have to learn. You have to know everything about digital signature certificates. You have to know everything about digital signatures. You have to know everything about the websites available, how to upload documents and everything. Yeah. Today, if you decide that, okay, I want to remain into income tax, but I'm not going to use any website, probably you cannot succeed. So those who have not realized the worth of technology have remained beyond and then faded away in the past. Yeah. So these companies, in order to stay competitive, they've changed and transformed themselves. Yeah. Now, the beauty comes from this point. It says that Facebook, Google, Uber, Airbnb, if you look at their business model, they have no assets. They don't have their own product also. They are just a service aggregator. They are service providers. Yeah. But the owners of them are in the list of top 10 richest people in the world. Why? Because they understood high value of data. Okay. And what do they do with this data? Yeah. Let's see that further. So as I said, Uber and Airbnb. Uber has no taxi, but they have presence in the globe. Airbnb, they have no single hotel in their balance sheet, but they are the best aggregators of hotel booking service. Yeah, they don't own any asset. Okay, what do? They bring the customers together through data. They understand everything about you. They exactly know what you want, and they would recommend you that. And that's how they gain the business. This is how industry is leveraging on the data. You don't have any product, but only data can make you billionaire. And you can also be in the top 10 richest people in the world list. Yeah. Let me give you some more example how these companies actually are taking advantage of the data. Now, this may be shocking to you, but this is a published fact, well audited as well. 1/3 of Amazon's product sale is generated by recommendation engine. This is huge. We are talking about a global turnover of a company like Amazon. And if 35% of the sale only comes from the AI engine, which is mining millions of data points and suggesting customers what to buy, and customers are actually buying based on that recommendations, is a wonderful achievement. Today, they are not investing into marketing, into sponsoring events. They are investing into technology, in particular, AI coupled with data analytics. And that is one of the reasons why I took data analytics sessions earlier than cybersecurity. Yeah. Let me give you a real life experience, how Amazon does it. So, considering the time at hand, I've just taken one or two examples just to tell you how powerful the recommendation engine is. They can read your mind literally. Okay. So, of the thousands of filters that they have to know you, let us take a user based filter. What it does is every pair of customer is characterized by a certain similarity based on their past surfing, based on their past purchase pattern. Now, let's say these are the three customers who regularly go to website and surf for various types of products. As I told you, every single click you make on the site, they record it and they create your parallel profile. Hence, what Amazon recommendation engine has done is say this is Priya, this is Pooja, and he is Rahul. So recommendation engine has tagged Priya with Rahul based on their surfing pattern. Now, what Priya is buying when she is going on Amazon, she buys blueberries, strawberries, melon, and orange. Okay. Now, when Rahul goes, okay, Rahul buys strawberry and melon. So the moment Rahul buys these two products, recommendation engine will trigger a recommendation to Rahul and say, hey, look, customers who bought strawberry and melon has also bought blueberries and oranges. And they just don't recommend you what others are buying. They also feed you with some facts. They would say the calories of these four products, they would say that you can prepare mocktails using the combination of these four. They will also give you some facts and statistics of the health benefits, nutrition benefits of having the combination of the four products. So they will give you enough facts. They'll also feed you with so much of data that you will be convinced that, okay, let me buy oranges and blueberries. So Rahul wanted only to buy strawberries and melon. He ended up buying blueberries and oranges. And why these two products out of so many? Because there are many customers who goes with this whole combination. Okay. And 1/3 is the success rate, which means if they offer this sort of recommendation to customers, every one customer out of three accepts the recommendation. And this is huge. Same way, friends, item-based filtering. Now here, customers are not tagged to each other. Products are tagged to each other. So here, they analyze the buying pattern of the customer and they have tagged blueberries with watermelon. So anybody who buys blueberry will be given recommendation to buy watermelon. Or anybody who buys watermelon will be given the recommendation to buy blueberries. The same happens here. If you see here, Pooja is again buying a blueberry, watermelon, and orange. Now, the moment Rahul buys watermelon, this dotted line, these dotted lines are the recommendations. So Rahul will be recommended to buy blueberries. And again, 1/3 is the success rate. These are one of the few parameters that I've spoken about. There are millions of such parameters, and you would be amazed to see that how close these recommendations are to your requirements. Now that you've understood this, next time when you go to Amazon, Flipkart, or Mantra, or any site where e-commerce site, you just see the recommendation and analyze, is this not what you wanted? And start wondering, how come these sites, without meeting you personally, have got into your mind and have understood? The answer is simply data analytics coupled with AI. Yeah, they know better than what you know about yourself. Yeah. All right. So that's another example to give you a visibility. Then moving forward, what is there in the big data kind of a practice? When I say make friendship with data, what sort of friends you will encounter, how they look like? So the data which is going to be your friend will look like this. The data can be a structured data in the form of reports, which comes out of your Excel. It comes out of like Oracle databases. It comes out of MS Access, or it comes out of any other SAP ERP backend. But majority of the data that you analyze as a stat auditor, as an income tax auditor, as a GST for reconciliation is all structured data. It is properly organized into rows and columns. But there's a lot of data which is available in the domain, which is unstructured data in the form of PDF reports, in the form of audio and video, in the form of your blogs, chats, reviews on Facebook, Insta. Yeah. Like a lot of people, like say, for example, a company has a Facebook page. They're launching a new mobile phone. So they will invite the suggestions, the feedbacks, the experiences, and people will start recording their videos and uploading on their page. They will start or recording audio, they'll upload on their page. They'll give reviews, they'll get rewarded. So a lot of data is available today in an unstructured format. And there are tools which can convert this data from unstructured to structured. So to make friendship with data, you need to learn tools. These practices are tool-based. You may be good, you may be intelligent, you may have a good analytical ability, but human beings have a limitation. If it is not coupled with tools, a knowledge and understanding of the tools, you will at some point in time feel handicapped in your practice. So simultaneously, while you're developing friendship, you need to develop a understanding and a working knowledge of the tools. So I'm taking a logical pause here because if you have any questions coming in from the audience, I would be happy to take them. Or is it okay?
I think it is okay to continue, sir, because we haven't received any questions yet.
All right, excellent. So hope you are there still and listening. I understand that as the day progresses, one feels a little tired. In Mumbai, it is raining pretty heavily, so you may be in a hurry to go back home. But yeah, your enthusiasm is equally important. So what can big data tell us about the customer? There's a classic example that I can show you right away. Okay. Let's imagine that Vikas and I are good friends. Yeah. And I request Vikas to give me a loan of 10 lakh rupees. Now, what do you think? Vikas will be comfortable giving me loan of 10 lakh rupees?
Yes, if we are good friends.
Vikas is so generous. He says, if you're a good friend, I'll give you. So I'm glad to know that at least Vikas is comfortable giving me 10 lakh loans. But if we are being practical, if we are corporates or if we are banks, then they don't trust us so easily. Even if we have got a long-standing relationship with the financial institutions or banks, when it comes to giving loan, they follow rigorous process. They go through our CIBIL score, they look at our past financials and what not sort of due diligence that they perform. And when I go and ask for 10 lakh rupees, they'll say, okay, hey, look, Amish, your credit worthiness as per our analysis is only 4 lakh rupees. I feel bad being with the bank for so many years, and when I need the service, they are not offering. So there's a setback, isn't it? Plus, there are banks who are sitting on a lot of NPAs. NPAs as high as 30%, 40% of their entire portfolio, which is concerning. Despite due diligence, there is a risk of NPA. Now, imagine if you were to give a loan and to that sort of a customer who have no financial history, no financial records, and with a lower NPA rate, how can you do that? So listen to this video. A lady, an Indian origin lady settled in US just based on one mobile app, based on the analysis of the data which is residing in the mobile phone, giving loans to those who doesn't have a banking history, giving loans to those who stay in a high risk countries with an NPA rate as low as 5 to 10%. This business model created a havoc in the industry, banking industry, and was a game changer. So I personally feel good about when I see the success of this business, and purely the success is attributed to data analytics. So have a look at this video.
How much do you need to know about a person before you'd feel comfortable making a loan? Suppose you wanted to lend $1,000 to the person sitting 2 rows behind you. What would you need to know about that person before you'd feel comfortable? My mom came to the US from India in her late 30s. She's a doctor in Brooklyn, and she often lets friends and neighbors come to see her for health services, whether they can pay right away or not. I remember running into her patients with her at the grocery store or on the sidewalk, and sometimes they would come and pay her right on the spot for previous appointments. She would thank them and then ask them about their families and their health. She gave them credit because she trusted them. Most of us are like my mom. We would give credit to someone that we know or that we live next to, but most of us are probably not going to lend to a stranger unless we know a little something about them. Banks, credit card companies, and other financial institutions don't know us on a personal level, but they do have a way of trusting us, and that's through our credit scores. Our credit scores have been created through an aggregation and analysis of our public consumer credit data. And because of them, we have pretty much easy access to all of the goods and services that we need, from getting electricity to buying a home or taking a risk and starting a business. But there are 2.5 billion people around the world that don't have a credit score. That's a third of the world's population. They don't have a score because there are no formal public records on them, no bank accounts, no credit histories, and no social security numbers. And because they don't have a score, they don't have access to the credit or financial products that can improve their lives. They are not trusted. So we wanted to find a way to build trust and to open up financial access for these 2.5 billion. So we created a mobile application that builds credit scores for them using mobile data. There are currently over 1 billion smartphones in emerging markets, and people are using them the same way that we do. They're texting their friends, they're looking up directions, they're browsing the internet, and they're even making financial transactions. Over time, this data is getting captured on our phones, and it provides a really rich picture of a person's life. Our customers give us access to this data, and we capture it through our mobile application. It helps us understand the creditworthiness of people like Jennifer, a small business owner in Nairobi, Kenya. Jennifer is 65 years old and for decades has been running a food stall in the Central Business District. She has 3 sons who she put through vocational school, and she's also the leader of her local chama or savings group. Jennifer's food stall does well. She makes just enough every day to cover her expenses, but she's not financially secure. Any emergency could force her into debt. And she has no discretionary income to improve her family's way of living, for emergencies, or for investing into growing her business. If Jennifer wants credit, her options are limited. She could get a microloan, but she'd have to form a group that could help vouch for her credibility. And even then, the loan sizes would be way too small to really have an impact on her business, averaging around $150. Loan sharks are always an option, but with interest rates that are well above 300%, they're financially risky. And because Jennifer doesn't have collateral or a credit history, she can't walk into a bank and ask for a business loan. But one day, Jennifer's son convinced her to download our application and apply for a loan. Jennifer answered a few questions on her phone, and she gave us access to a few key data points on her device. And here's what we saw. So bad news first. Jennifer had a low savings balance and no previous loan history. These are factors that would have thrown up a red flag to a traditional bank, but there were other points in her history that showed us a much richer picture of her potential. So for one, we saw that she made regular phone calls to her family in Uganda. Well, it turns out that the data shows a 4% increase in repayment among people who consistently communicate with a few close contacts. We could also see that though she traveled around a lot throughout the day, she actually had pretty regular travel patterns, and she was either at home or at her food stall. And the data shows a 6% increase in repayment among customers who are consistent with where they spend most of their time. We could also see that she communicated a lot with many different people throughout the day, and that she had a strong support network. Our data shows that people who communicate with more than 58 different contacts tend to be more likely to be good borrowers. In Jennifer's case, she communicated with 89 different individuals, which showed a 9% increase in her repayment. These are just some of the thousands of different data points that we look at to understand a person's creditworthiness. And after analyzing all of these different data points, we took the first risk and gave Jennifer a loan. This is data that would not be found on a paper trail or in any formal financial record, but it proves trust. By looking beyond income, we can see people in emerging markets that may seem risky and unpredictable on the surface are actually willing and have the capacity to repay. Our credit scores have helped us deliver over 200,000 loans in Kenya in just the past year, and our repayment rates are above 90%, which, by the way, is in line with traditional bank repayment rates. With something as simple as a credit score, we're giving people the power to build their own futures. Our customers have used their loans for family expenses, emergencies, travel.
So hope you've got the idea behind this video as to using something like a mobile data. This app is actually calculating a score similar to your CIBIL score and determining the probability of you being a good customer to give a loan and the probability of repayment, which is as high as 90%. So This is the power of data, friends. This is what you should be doing in terms of helping the client
Travel.
provide them insights about the data. So hope this has given you a good insight about another example of how industry is leveraging. All right. I'll just skip these few slides. These are again few of the other examples. Now that I've given you at the beginning of the session, what are the prerequisites to remain in this domain? That is, you have to make friendship with data and you have to learn the tools. Then I have given you some statistics and facts why this domain is growing, followed by some of the examples of Amazon, Flipkart, and this video. Now, as a chartered accountant, what is your role? Where you can help them is what we will see. Okay. So, friends, first and foremost, as I told you, the process starts from collection. And this is where we, chartered accountant, help our client the most. You have to partner with your clients and guide them that if they are moving from a standalone platform to a sophisticated platform, or they're migrating their applications or systems, or from a manual environment, they're looking to go to automated environment, what are the things that they should start collecting about their business? And with the kind of understanding of the business, understanding of the regulatory framework, and understanding the criticality of the processes, and you would be rendering similar services to the other customers in the same industry, you can kind of migrate your know-how of that client to this client. Say, for example, we do a lot of banking work. So if you have done something for one bank, you understand the best practices of that bank, help your another client who is another bank and adopt these best practices. This is how the clients would take advantage from your knowledge, and you can charge handsomely for providing that sort of services to them. Important thing is, if organization is not collecting the data, it is very difficult for them to take advantage of the situation, which is data analytics. If you don't have the recipe, if you don't have the ingredients, you can't prepare a recipe. Is it as simple as that? So here you're telling your customers what is it that they need to have. These are the ingredients for you or the client to do analytics. Then comes the technical part of data analytics. From here on, cleaning, integration, analysis, these three steps you have to do in the software. You can use a simple software like Excel or Microsoft Access, which are widely available. You can go to CAD tools like IDEA, ACL, Arbiter, SAS. You can go to sophisticated tools like Apache, Hadoop. Yeah. Using these tools, you can clean the data, you can align the data, integrate to the business, and do this interesting analytics. We'll be discussing this in much more detail in the subsequent slides. This is where the cream work is. Like in your AI, you have three aspects: AI, machine learning, and deep learning. So deep learning is the core of AI. Similarly, analysis is the core of data analytics. Analysis is going to give you the inferences on the data to analyze, to perform analytics further and make decisions. Then comes storytelling part. If I keep telling you that, okay, Flipkart has done wonderful in Big Billion Day, more than 100,000 customers have joined, 55,000 mobile phones were sold, 500,000 worth of bedsheets were sold, you will get absolutely no idea, because these are abstract numbers, and abstract numbers have no meaning. You have to put a perspective to a number. So the Flipkart story sounded appealing to you because there was some number, there was some comparison, and there are certain famous characters. The Hollywood hero and heroines were there, including Amitabh Bachchan. So if you add an element of storytelling, if you add glamour to your data by going through visualization tools like Tableau, ClickSense, SAS, they will change the way your data looks. They are the makeup tools. Yeah, they'll make a black and white data, colorful data with a very nice dashboard, with an interactive dashboard, like Power BI or kind of Power Pivot, or you can go with some of the visualization tools which I spoke about, like Tableau and all. Again, in data analytics, visualization is not something where chartered accountants are, pursuing the career, because this is just a software use. The cream comes here. The real intelligence is here. So start from collection to cleaning to integration to analysis is the steps where you can participate in the digital transformation journey. This would be an add-on to your knowledge. If you yourself know how to perform a storytelling on the data or make dashboards, then you are a good professional, you are a well-rounded professional. And finally, why are we doing all this? To tell the management, to alert the management that, hey, look, if you are not achieving your targets, if your PAT is not as per your budget, if you're losing market share, if there are problems in your logistic, or there are a lot of issues which is going on in your operations, why these issues and what can you do to come out of these issues? So that's the real advantage of data analytics, helping the business overcome the challenges and helping them to grow. So this is where, client will look at you. Okay. So only if you are able to help them in these 4 stages, you will be able to give them proper advice. This is the only exceptional step where you may or you may not want to pursue your career. This is a typical big data analytics pipeline. No matter what industry, no matter what is the size of the organization, everybody has to go through these steps. So this is your collection of the data and storing of data. The data may be structured, unstructured. It may come from your logs of applications. Like I told you, when you go to the Amazon, a lot of data comes from the web server. Yeah, the website that you're surfing, they'll keep collecting the data. Every activity about your user ID and password has given them, they create a log about you. So these are the sources of data that goes stored into either the local server or the cloud server. From these servers, we bring in the data to the CAD tools, like as Vikas mentioned during the introduction, that I've designed 3-day course for our institute, where we help you do this step in real life. We collect the data from the client, we import the data into these tools, we run various queries on these tools, we generate analytics, and then we transfer it to the BI tools. And then we share the report with the customers saying that, hey, look, this is what your data is telling about your business to us. Yeah. So this is how typically the data pipeline looks like. Now comes an interesting aspect about what sort of friendship I can do, what data is going to tell me. So there are 4 types of analytics that you can perform: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Okay, the good thing first, most of the Indian corporates have invested in the data analytics. Just 1 second. Most of the Indian organizations have invested into data analytics only up to descriptive and diagnostic stage. That's it. Whereas these are basic level analytics. From the learnings that we get from diagnostic analytics, we have to really move to these 2 stages to reap the benefit, which is where a lot of investment is required into software, into hiring quality people like data analytics and scientist people, which is where Indian organizations are not really good at. And this gives us an opportunity to help them migrate from diagnostic to predictive, from predictive to prescriptive. Only 22% of the organizations as we speak are only up to diagnostic. So there's a huge market. Even smallest of your client, you can tell them that, okay, give me your data and I'll do a magic out of it. And if you can really convince them, then there's no looking back. You will be engaged with them for 3 to 5 years, helping them analyze the data and move on in their business. So let me give you an analogy to help you understand these 4 types, and then you decide where you fit in the most based on your skill set. The most demanding one is this, predictive and prescriptive. If you're good at this, you can earn better and add a lot of value to your client. Here, you can only help client to a certain extent. So what are they? Let's see. Just 1 second. Let me clear them. All right. So what is descriptive analytics? Descriptive analytics is basically like looking into the past. Let's say a patient goes to a doctor and says, okay, hey, look, doctor, I am suffering from, say, diabetics. I'm suffering from high blood pressure, and sometime I get mild headache. So, patient on his own telling the doctor what happened to him. Same way, a business, your client, the business owners or your client for whom you are rendering income tax services, GST services, ROC related services, accounting and finance, or maybe any sort of consulting that you're rendering, they would come to you and say, hey, look, you are my chartered accountant. We are professional colleagues. See, I have a problem in my business. I'm always running short on my working capital. I'm always running hand to mouth when it comes to profit. I have a very high operating cost. In East market, my product is not picking up. In South market, the competition is stiff. In the West market, I have a lot of labor union issues. Every business has one or the other problem, like every human being has. So, what is descriptive analytics? Understanding from the client what are the current problems that they are facing in their business. Hope you have understood this. This is called as a descriptive analytics because it is backward looking. Why backward looking? Because these problems were experienced by the businesses or the patient from the past history of his lifestyle. So what doctor will say? Doctor will listen to the patient, okay, and will ask you questions about the past. Tell me what has been your lifestyle, what sort of work you are into, how is your work-life balance, how is your stress level, what are your eating habits. Same way, you need to ask various questions with regard to the businesses. And you have to tell your client that give me last 5, 7, 10 years of whatever data you have. Okay. So you have to collect the data and understand from the client what is the problem. So that's called descriptive analytics. You are writing down, describing the problems which a business is facing. Then comes the diagnostic analytics. So immediately after doctor has heard you about your lifestyle patterns, about your eating habits and all that, doctor will take a piece of paper and will write 10 tests to be performed. Doctor will say, okay, go and do your blood test, urine test, cardio check, weight check, or whatever. Whatever he understands relevant for you, we will note down these tests and tell you that go and do these tests. Why? Because doctor wants to know why something has happened. What problem that you're citing about diabetics, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, mild headache, why this is happening? So in diagnostic, we are identifying the root. We are identifying the cause about the problem. So after you've collected 5 years, 7 years of data, you have analyzed the data, and now you are meeting your client again and say, hey, look, your data shows that why these problems your business is facing, why you have a labor problem in West, why your product is not selling well in East, why you have stiff competition and you are unable to cope up in South, why you are always hard pressed on your working capital budget, why you are unable to serve your loans. All this, your data will tell you where your business has gone wrong. And diagnostic analytics you can do by using Power Query, Excel, Access, or CAD tools. There doesn't need a sophisticated level of tools for analysis. Hope you understood so far. So in diagnostic analytics, patient will come to know from the doctor by reading the report about the patient. So doctor has not done anything different. Doctor has just reviewed the report and told the patient about the problems. And the good thing about diagnostic is that some problems which your report will say, which even patient is not aware of. Like patient only complained about what? Diabetics and high blood pressure. Looking at the report, doctor will say that your liver is going to be problem, going to create a problem. Your liver has got some inflation. There are certain issues with relating to your eyesight which you might face, which means patient was not aware about this. It's only when the diagnostic analytics happened, patient came to know about two or more problems, which he was not aware of. Similarly, friends, when you analyze the data of the business, you will go back to the management and say, hey, look, you cited 10 problems to me, but your data says you have 15 more problems, which you don't know, or which you know, but you have not realized because it has not came up to you. See, we go to doctors only when we have symptoms, when we have some indicators that we are not keeping well. So if there is no problem with the stomach, patient may not complain about the stomach. But because of diabetics, maybe he has a problem with his stomach also, or a liver also. We don't know. So that's the benefit of diagnostic analytics. Now, what I told you, every organization only invests up to here. They'll hire you, they'll tell you, you give them the problem, and the matter ends. But now comes the job of a chartered accountant. You have to continuously pursue with your client and say, hey, look, you are suffering with some problem. You have to take next step to come out of it. This is like an ordinary doctor where the patient goes, understands the problem, and then doesn't come back to the doctor. So now that patient is understood. Okay, the doctors have reviewed the report and said these are the problems. But what if the patient doesn't come again? And doctors generally never follow up because they don't care. But we are chartered accountants, we are not doctors. We have to take care of our clients. We have to tell our clients that, hey, look, what will happen if you continue to remain like this? So this is called as a predictive analytics. What is likely to happen? This is a forward looking analytics. We are dwelling into the future and we are telling our client that looking at your past, looking at the root causes, if you continue to do business like this, maybe in 5 years, you have to quit the South and the East market. Your labor issues will continue, so your production will hamper the big time in another 18 months in West. You are hard pressed on your interest servicing, your loan servicing. Maybe this will create a negative cash flow and a working capital issue. Your PAT will deteriorate, and in 10 years you will not remain a going concern. So I'm predicting future based on the current situation and the past data analytics. This is where your forte comes, and this is the most important thing because predicting future is something very, very difficult to do. Nobody can predict future. We can only predict based on the data, and this is what we are doing. So here the knowledge of tools, the algorithms, etc. will help you. Now, continuing with my example, patient comes to the doctor and says, okay, now that you've told me that this is what I'm suffering, what will happen? So now doctor will say, okay, if you don't take the treatment, your diabetics will grow, and in 3 months or in 3 years, you will be bedridden. In 2 years, you will die. Your liver will stop functioning after 3 years, something like that. Okay. So predictive is what? If you continue to remain like this, what will be your future in 3 to 5 years time? And in predictive analytics, we only look for 3 to 5 years. We don't look for long term, not required. Now comes the final step, which is very, very important, which is prescriptive, which is action oriented. Now, patient underwent the report, doctor took out the page and wrote prescription. Doctor said, okay, take these medicines, get up early, do yoga, go for a walk, don't drink, don't smoke, have a healthy habits, everything he prescribed on a piece of paper. But unless patient put this into action, he's not going to get cured. No, just knowing it, just having a knowledge of medicines and the good things to do, I'll not recover. I have to act on it. So again, you have to handle your client. You have to push them to do action. And action requires cost. Most of the clients take a sit back. So when a patient hears that the cost of operation is 10 lakh, he takes a back seat. He says, oh, 10 lakh. Should I do it now? Should I wait another 6 months? Should I consult another doctor? If another doctor says the same, he'll again wonder because he doesn't want to spend 10 lakh. This is the way businesses are. They don't want to spend money on this because they don't understand that this is important. And what if the patient is not undergoing operation? Eventually will die. So you have to handle your client, you have to change their mindset. And that's a big role which we are doing. We are experiencing that a lot of resistance comes from the client. We have to convince them. We have to develop that sort of a faith ecosystem in them that investing here will help you in the longer run. Yeah. So hope you understood this 4 stages of data analytics. I think looking at the time at hand, I will quickly tell you that what is the roadmap for you and how you can get into this business practice. So to begin with, you have to learn these tools. Start with Excel and databases, which is what you might be doing. These are the tools which we use day in, day out. Slowly and gradually improvise on your learning on CAD tools. Keep attending sessions, courses, gain hands-on experience on these. So what are these? So here is the list. This is just an illustrative list. So spreadsheets, you can have Excel and Google, databases. Databases is must. You have to learn an SQL. There are free courses available on Simply Learn, Udemy, or any website. You download the app, here to their courses while you're commuting, use that commute time. But SQL is very, very important. It's a query language on the databases, and most of the time you will end up doing analytics on a structured data, which requires SQL knowledge. Okay. Then the next step is you can go through ACL, IDEA, Arbiters, and SAS tools. This is a journey I am taking you through. These are visualization tools, optional for you. Yeah. Then I would not recommend you to go with R and Python because there are programmers available. If you give them price, they'll develop a tool for you. But these are some of the languages available. If anyone has a keen eye on the languages, I don't recommend personally. I don't invest my time into it. Not required. Our forte lies elsewhere. So don't waste your time in programming. Get the programs developed by paying price and use your time productively where your forte is. But this is a peak. Once you come up to here, you will be much sought after professionals. Today, global conglomerates handling e-commerce businesses, large businesses, manufacturing arms, they all are on these platforms analyzing data on a real time. So this is like a PhD in data analytics, kind of. So you should aim to be here in 5 to 7 years time, not that immediately you can reach here. These are other learning platforms. I'll start with our institute's resources. So this is the course that Vikas was talking about that I have designed for our institute. There's another course called Executive Program on Advanced Excel and Dashboards. Yeah. Then there's another course on data consolidation and analysis in Excel, e-learning on pivot tables. These are some of the resources available free of cost or sometimes at a very throwaway price. Yeah, you can enroll for them. And regularly ICAI conducts sessions like what we are doing, ABCD. Similarly, there are sessions on various other topics. Please keep attending them. These are other resources which are very good, especially Udemy and Coursera. Their content, I find it personally very good. But there are plenty which you would know. Subscribe to them. Maybe 1 hour, 2 hour sessions, recordings available. You can listen to them, make notes, download the software. Some of them are available for free, like SQLite is available for free. You can download, go to Coursera, listen to those videos and practice it. It doesn't require any certification or a formal training. You can learn on your own. Yeah, this is the domain where it is like swimming. The more you are in the water, the better swimmer you become. The more you talk to data, the more you handle the data, the better you become talking to them. There's no course that can give you guarantee that you can become a good data analytics person. This is hands-on session. This is hands-on practice, okay? So it doesn't require certifications, but practical learning will take you to the next level. So that's about it. This is on the data analytics. So I understand that we have got about half an hour to cover the next topic, which is not very big in terms of practice. It is going to become big, but I think data analytics is something that you can immediately take up. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can drop in an email. I would be more than happy to revert. Yeah. So meanwhile, I'll switch to cybersecurity. and then we'll keep some 10 minutes time for Q&A if you have any. Let me. Okay, is this screen visible, Vikas? If you can just confirm.
Yes, yeah, cybersecurity topic written.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, that was correct.
Yes.
So this brings us to the last topic of the day for this session, which is cybersecurity. And rightly so, it is gaining lots and lots of importance, friends. Cybersecurity is the concern for everybody, including chartered accountants. And I'm not threatening you or kind of frustrating you, but let me tell you this fact that we are on the top 10 list to hack. Chartered accountants are at number 3 in the list of hackers. Okay, so they know that we chartered accountants store financial information and various key data points about our customers. And if they hack into our servers in one successful attempt, they will have an access to as many as 1,000 to 5,000 customers' financial data. So chartered accountants are the soft targets for the hackers. And as I said, we are on the hit list at number 3. Okay, payment gateways and other banking financial services companies, they are above us because they hold more data than us, but we are not running behind. So I'm not threatening you, I'm just telling you the fact. But that means that cybersecurity is going to be the technology of day to day. Yeah, we are all using internet, and the fact that we are all migrating to cloud, and the prerequisite for cloud is internet. And wherever internet is deployed or used for gaining access, for processing the transactions or data, for storing the data, for transmitting the data, the cybersecurity comes into play. So, can you think of anybody who is not using internet? The answer is no. That means everybody is your target customer. Everybody who's using internet, everybody whose data is either on a server or on a cloud, they are your potential customers. So you need not hunt for customers. They are with you already, yeah, for this practice. Now, the key role is that you have to protect the organization's resources from hacker as far as this practice is concerned. What is your key role? You have to ensure that organizations have enough controls in place to protect the information that they are having about themselves as well as about their customers. So when the organization is having information about their customer, they become custodian, and the responsibility of the custodian is more than the owner. What if I lose 10,000 rupees lying in my pocket? It's my money. I lost it. But what if Vikas is a custodian and I gave Vikas 1 lakh rupees and he lost my money? How he feels? If Vikas is losing his own money, he'll still not bother because it's his own money. But if he's losing my money, he will be more stressed. He needs to, he is answerable to me, isn't it? Similarly, an organization is a custodian of customers, of suppliers, of external stakeholders whose data that they are collecting. Let us take an example of a bank. Bank is collecting personally identifiable data about their customers in the form of KYC. It is of utmost importance. Even the RBI has regulations around it that banks have to compulsorily secure this data. Despite that, obviously, there have been various occasions where banks' servers were hacked, KYC documents were leaked. Even our UIDAI website has also officially published that their data is compromised. How you feel if somebody else's asset is compromised? So it is your moral responsibility to protect, and now regulatory responsibility and obligation as well. So this is a background about cybersecurity practice. And when it is regulatory backed up practice, you get a lot of work. Like GST, for example, income tax. These are all regulatory driven practice, statutory audit. If there's no regulation, nobody in the world would undergo a stat audit, isn't it? If there's no regulation, if it doesn't apply to you, you won't go for income tax audit. But just because there are regulations, it's a mandate we have to do. Similarly, cybersecurity is a mandate for banking and financial services, for e-commerce companies, for those who are collecting, storing, preserving, maintaining, processing personally identifiable data. They have to ensure that this data is protected. So these are some of the further reasons why you need a cybersecurity. And to your surprise, India is number 2 in the world where maximum cyber crimes are happening. Number 2. Yeah. So it's very bad to say that when there's a fraud, there's a business for us. But these are the practices where when there are more frauds, more practice areas for us, more business for us. And I don't know whether to consider this as a good news or a bad news that India is number 2, because being there at number 2, it opens up a lot of avenues for work. You just need to be at the right spot to get the work. You need to know from where the work will come. The problem with chartered accountants is we don't hunt for the work in the right direction. Yeah. So, first of all, you need to know that there is a domain like this exists. There's a domain like this where you can help your client. There's a domain where there's a regulatory requirement to do an audit. Then the next step is you acquire the similar knowledge. You have to acquire certifications in this domain and then look for the work in the right direction. And then once you are into this domain, once you start developing your goodwill and brand, people will come looking for you. And these are all reasons. And as I said, India as a country is number 2, but within India, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, and Bangalore, and now Hyderabad, 5 states, maximum cybercrime happens. Cyber cell is full of cases. Sometimes they call us, they have no clue what to do with the data. They are overburdened with cases. They are unable to handle. We help them, yeah, in various ways. So, huge market. These are some of the facts, slightly dated, but not very old. So, just to give you a perspective, how big this market is, why India is at number 2. Yeah. Look at this number of 5 years old. Now technology adoption has increased, so this has gone up. Yeah, this is a number 2 years old. So although this data is dated, but still relevant and gives you a visibility that this is not easing out. This is becoming more serious. Yeah. See, personal data is cheap. Today, our Aadhaar information is available everywhere. We give Aadhaar card to anybody, anytime, over WhatsApp, over Facebook. If you do a search on social media, you will find hundreds of Aadhaar cards, PAN cards lying unattended. Yeah, we give our biometrics to Chinese-made phones. We give our face to Chinese-made phones. So data is very cheap nowadays. It's available at throwaway price or free of cost. We don't care for our data as an Indian end user. Yeah. All right. So factors affecting cybersecurity. This is a little bit theory, so I'll not go into this, but I'm just telling you from this slide is that technology, use of technology is exposing organizations to cybersecurity threat. You're going to use internet, you're going to use hardware, software, your data is on the cloud. Every device that you're using exposed to cyber threat. There's no technology which is foolproof as we speak. It's only a matter of time that it is not hacked. So we think it is foolproof. The day it is hacked, it is compromised. Yeah. So security is an illusion in the world of internet. Nothing is secure. Although security controls are there, but that doesn't guarantee 100% that it will not be compromised. So security is an illusion. You have to remember this. You have to tell this to your client every day. Okay, you have to tell your client, give them that education that security is an illusion. You may have best of the encryption, you may have best of the firewalls, you may have an IDS, IPS, you may have SSL security, you may have HTTPS, doesn't matter. If a hacker wants to hack you, they will find ways and means of doing it. It's as simple as that. You cannot secure your things if the other person is willing to hack it because technology has vulnerabilities. And the fact goes, If I give you simple example, you might be using Apple phone, you might be using best of the high-end phones, but when you go to the review section on YouTube, none of the YouTuber will say that this phone is 100% correct. They'll give you some pros and cons, some limitations. Even Android updates, you see that Android started with Android 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, Windows operating system, so many versions. Your Apple phone has so many versions. None of them is fully functional. There will be some vulnerabilities. So the point is there is nothing secure. It's an illusion. Okay. So you have to educate your client. Now, information security and cybersecurity goes hand in hand. Information security is in-house. Cybersecurity is external. Yeah, it is beyond your control. So you have to ensure that you have enough support from the vendors, enough support from the internet service providers, telecommunication companies, and then you can achieve this security. Yeah. What is the end objective of any security is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And cybersecurity trusts more on confidentiality. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. What is your role as a chartered accountant? You can look for cybersecurity governance, whether they have enough checks, enough security, enough controls, are they working, have they worked throughout the period of audit. So I have a control, okay, but that was only available for 1 month and not for the entire audit period. So the control is there, but it's not present throughout. Yeah, or the control is there, but despite that, the incidents and the threats or the vulnerabilities were exposed. There was a hack attempt. So that control is ineffective. So that governance insurance is what you have to do. So in nutshell, what you would do, you would collect all the policies on information security and cyber security. You will test these controls real time on the site. We don't do this remotely. In COVID times, there were many projects where client was pushing me to do remotely because they wanted certifications to, submit to their regulatory bodies and exchanges. I denied. I said either you take work from me, give it to some other consultant, but remotely I will not do this. I have to be on the data center. I have to be on the ground, physically present and visibly available on that hardware to test some of the controls. So you have to physically be there on the data center wherever the IS infrastructure is there to test these security features. Yeah. Again, you can help them in risk management. This is one step before. Here you are helping the client identify what to secure, what type of controls to deploy. So here you are helping them. Later you cannot audit them. So if you're part of risk management process, you cannot do cyber audits as a independence will be impaired. But this is another domain that you can look at. Then, as I said, this is a regulatory requirement for some of the companies. So there are certain laws which one need to comply. So I've just given you a glimpse of what are the regulations around the world that emphasizes and obligates the organizations to comply. And this is where the statutory work will come to you. So every company who's EU based or in Singapore or listed in US, they have to abide by these regulations, and every year they have to undergo cybersecurity review. Like any payment gateways nowadays, they have to go through PCI DSS compliance. Similarly, there will be requirement for them also. So as I said, compliances could be a contractual obligations or your internal policies or the regulations. Like for example, AWS is a cloud vendor. They have 350 compliances over cybersecurity. Around the year, there's a team of 50 people who's only handling auditors. Why? Because there were contractual obligations. If, say, for example, say Hindustan Unilever wants to migrate their entire data center to AWS, they will have a contractual obligation. They will say, okay, we want these standards of encryption. We want this sort of firewall. So they have to put this and then get them audited. So audit may be a contractual obligation there. That's it. I think this is important. security management plan. Tone at the top is very important. If the management, see, another problem in India that I've seen is security is an afterthought. Once their servers are hacked, once their applications are down, then only management opens up their eye and start looking seriously at the security. Here, the change of mindset is needed. You have to tell your client that nothing is secure. Yeah, you have to take preventive measures, not the corrective measures as far as cybersecurity is concerned. So you can tell your clients, okay, show me what are your policies. See if they have got policies around cybersecurity. If not, then you help them devise this. Maybe 1 or 2 assignments you can do free. Thereby, you will also gain hands-on experience and then start marketing this service to your other clients. Do cross-selling. Yeah. So if you're interacting with senior management or a middle management or the decision makers, imbibe this practice within them. Tell them that security is crucial. It's mandatory. Yeah. So as I discussed, you can be part of the risk management, you can design the policies and you can define the risk levels. This is another full-fledged work that you can do, but this is purely internal. This is not regulatory. There is no audit involved. You're helping designing the cybersecurity framework. These are the policies that you can design. Organizational level policies, specific hardware, software related policies, operating system, middleware, API related policies. Yeah. I'm not getting into the detail. That's not the objective. I'm just telling you a broad understanding of what is your role here. So risk management is one and the governance, which is on the statutory side, is the other. These are the two domains where you can operate. So I think this brings us to the end of my session. Hope you have had a good time. And again, congratulations to each one of you being there at 8:50, listening to me. So it's a wonderful gesture. Thank you. Now over to you, Vikas.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed very, very interesting for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Participants have had good time and they've got some learning and takeaways.
Obviously, yes. So we have one question, sir.
Okay.
So the question says, what are the profiles for a fresher CA in data analytics? What skills we must possess in order to enter the data analytics market?
All right. As I said, for fresh chartered accountants, the start point is that you join firms which are more into data analytics practice. As I said, that there are top 10 firms available in India. It's a good start to work with them because they've got platforms, they've got tools, and you can be into internal audit, GRC practice, because they also collect a lot of data, but be on the back end. See, in data analytics, there are two domains. One is the front end and one is the back end. And in both the domains, chartered accountants are needed. Front end is where you meet with the client, you discuss the scope, you agree with the objective, then you go onto the client side, collect the data, and then hand over the data to the back end team. So this practice is all about back end. Okay. So you need to be in the back end. So when you go for a job, tell them that you're interested in handling the data, not in the front ending with the client. And then when you're on the back end, you'll be collecting, you will be analyzing a lot of data, identifying patterns, trends, analysis, aberrations, feeding it back to the front end team. They will then go to the client. So your knowledge will automatically increase. Why? Because you have got exposure to the tools. And as I said, this practice is like a swimming. So you have to hunt for a swimming pool. And right now, top 10, top 15 audit firms who are using tools is a swimming pool. You have to go join, take 1-2 years of experience. And once you're in that domain, friend, your seniors, your mentors will guide you, which are the other tools, which are the other courses that you can pursue. But you have to find the right swimming pool for you, which will give you that sort of an exposure. Okay.
So I believe this is it. People are asking for your PPT, sir.
Okay. I'll share it with the DAB and they'll in turn share it with the participants who have enrolled for this course.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Excellent. So I wish you all the very best. Each one of you stay blessed. And I just wanted to create a sense of urgency in each one of you that don't miss out on the bus. Okay, the practice has already begun. It's been more than a year and a half that a lot of movement has taken place in data analytics. So don't wait for much. If you have decided, then go for it. If you have not decided, then within 2 weeks or 1 month, you decide and then go for it. Don't just sit on it that, okay, one day I'll decide and then go. You might miss the bus. Yeah, so that's the final concluding remark that I want to say to each one of you.
Thank you so much, Amish sir, for your insights. Thank you for the session.
Thank you, Vikas. I'm glad to know that you're going to give me 10 lakh rupees. All right. Stay blessed, Vikas. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you, sir.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
So this brings us to the end of today's webinar. I would like to thank Charanjot Singh Nanda sir, Chairman, Digital Assurance and Accounting Board, CA Aniket sir, President ICI, CA Nihar sir, President SAFA, CA Ranjit Kumar Agarwal sir, Vice President ICI, CA Dayanivas Sharma sir, Vice Chairman for DAB, CA Narasimha sir, CA Amish sir, CA Amit Gupta sir, and everyone from the technical team. Also, a very special thanks to the audience who were the patient listener for
Absolutely.
3 hours on a Friday evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you
on
so
a
much.
quarter end and a month end.
Yes.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.